Hi, my name is Amy Dunaway, and I am the CEO and founder of Amy Grace Monograms. I am currently a senior in high school and started Amy Grace Monograms in 2016 when I was a sophomore in high school. And I just kind of want to give you a background of the story of Amy Grace Monograms because I don't think a lot of people know about it. I've always been the type of person that has to keep busy and always has to be doing something. And freshman year, I made varsity soccer at my high school. And in the second to last game of the season, I was completely taken out and ended up fracturing my back. So when the doctors told me that my back was fractured, I was obviously out of soccer and out of my favorite hobby, favorite thing, something that had occupied all of my time. So I was left with really nothing to do and no hobby. So I had gotten my license early sophomore year, and I had been taking my younger friends from soccer home because I still kind of wanted to be in with the whole soccer team. And I was talking to her, and her mom had a monogram business, and she just mentioned that her mom was selling her monogramming machine, and so it kind of sparked an idea that maybe I could purchase her monogram machine, and that could kind of be a hobby to do. So I talked to her mom that evening, and it ended up that was not going to be the right machine for me. So I Googled beginning embroidery machines, and I found on Amazon the future monogramming machine that I would use. That was $279, and decided just to buy it, what the heck, and Amazon primed it. It was going to be there in 2 days. So I had never really saw the whole monogramming thing to turn into a business. At first, I just loved the idea of being able to monogram my own clothes and maybe some friends' clothes, just as a hobby to keep myself busy, learn something new. So I had purchased the machine without a clue of what I was doing. I honestly would not consider myself crafty. Like, I still don't know how to sew. I was always just very sporty and not crafty at all. So this was completely random. My friends were shocked. It was just something like fun and new to occupy my time. So I had purchased the machine, it was coming, and really I was starting from scratch from researching. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what kind of needles to use. I didn't know where to buy embroidery thread, so it was such a big learning curve. And I had been telling my friends at school what I was doing, and I ended up getting orders for monograms before the machine had arrived and before I knew how to do it. So kind of jumped into the whole thing without having any idea what I was doing. So at school, I had told my friends that I'd purchased a monogramming machine, which it's really an embroidery machine. I totally didn't know what I was talking about. But I had purchased an embroidery machine, and I got mixed responses. Some people were super excited. Some people were like, you know, embroidery sounds like a grandma thing, so how do you go from varsity soccer to grandma hobby? So it was super random and out of the blue, and people were just not expecting it. So I got the machine. I eventually, I completely taught myself how to use it. There was not much out there. There was grandma videos, go figure, on YouTube, that helped a little bit, but a lot of times they didn't know how to use the camera, so that was not super helpful. But I ended up figuring it out, and I remember the first time that I was finally able to send a monogram over to the machine, because that was such a big learning curve, was getting the software, sending the software from the computer to the machine. I just could not figure out how to do it, and I was convinced that my machine was defective and that it could not monogram. So I was super bummed that I had all these monogram orders that I was not going to be able to monogram. So I am just the type of person that I do not give up, and I don't take no as an answer. So I just kept doing it, kept trying, and eventually I had to resize the monogram a little bit to be able to fit my machine, and it finally sent over. And I just remember that feeling of relief once it finally sent over, and it was just like an aha moment. It was awesome, and stitching out my first monogram, it was super exciting. I did it on a t-shirt that I bought at Joann's with a 50% off coupon, so I got it pretty cheap, and it was very exciting to start my first monogramming project. So like I said, I had started to tell friends that I was thinking about starting a business, and people really, it was like mixed reviews. Some friends were like, oh, that's so cool, you should totally do it. And then some people like just completely laughed at me and they're like, okay, there's no way this is going to happen. It'll be something that she tries for a little bit and then moves on to the next hobby. Like, this is just not going to work. So honestly, having people doubting me really drove me to want to be better and want to do it and wanted to prove them wrong. So I thank those people that had doubted me and thought that it wasn't ever going to happen. So always that was in the back of my mind, that failure was not an option and that it wasn't going to happen. So I started this, like I said, when I was a sophomore, and sophomores in high school are not super organized. Like, the orders that I was getting from friends, I would have people paying me in quarters. Like, bringing me $20 of orders in quarters in a brown bag. Like, I remember that happening, and I thought, okay, I love that they're supporting me, but this is just not going to work. Like, I'm going to have to figure out a different way. Like, sometimes people would pay me 2 weeks later, because, like, it was just so unorganized that I was like, okay, I need a new way to kind of handle the money, because if I'm going to use this as a job, I have to make sure I'm getting paid. So I decided to open an Etsy shop in March of 2016. I'd only been monogramming for like, I want to say 2 or 3 months, so still I was very much a beginner. I opened an Etsy shop thinking that it would just help with payments because people would have to pay with a card up front. No more quarter situations, so I thought that would help, and orders just kind of like started coming in. I remember, so I started in March, and I remember my first order was 2 weeks after I had opened my shop, almost exactly 2 weeks, and it was a monogram onesie. I was so excited that I had gotten my first real order, like not from family or friends, and I remember I went and bought my plain onesie at Walmart. I came home and I monogrammed it and shipped it out the same day. That person had to be so happy because that never happens. You never get a monogrammed or personalized order shipped out in the same day. So I remember that, and I started getting orders every 2 weeks, and then it turned into orders every week, and then a couple orders a week, and now it's currently like 7-ish orders a day on average. So it's just really crazy to see how fast it's grown, and I'm just so thankful for my family and friends who supported me and those who didn't support me, because it really just helped to drive Amy Grace Monograms, and I'm so thankful and so excited to see what is going to be happening in the future. Thanks.